Alex Mitchell stared out the viewport as the transport ship approached the massive space station. The Galactic Academy of Sciences floated like a shining silver flower in the darkness of space. Its 5 petal-shaped sections spread out from a central hub, each one housing different departments and living quarters. Alex's heart beat faster. He was the first human to ever attend the academy. "Preparing for docking procedures," announced the ship's AI. "All passengers, please secure your belongings." Alex double-checked his bag. It contained everything he owned now: clothes, some books, personal items, and a few mementos from Earth. Earth seemed so far away now. The 3-week journey through hyperspace had given him plenty of time to wonder if he had made the right choice. The ship shuddered slightly as it connected to the docking port. After a series of clicks and hisses, the doors opened. Alex took a deep breath and stepped forward with the other passengers. The arrival hall buzzed with activity. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors moved about. Some had multiple limbs, others floated rather than walked, and a few seemed to shimmer in and out of visibility. Alex had been briefed about the diversity he would encounter, but seeing it in person was overwhelming. "Human Mitchell?" a voice called out. Alex turned to see a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and 4 arms approaching. "I am Administrator Selth. Welcome to the Galactic Academy." "Thank you," Alex said, trying to remember the proper greeting. He placed his right hand over his heart and gave a slight bow, the universal sign of respect. Administrator Selth's large eyes blinked in approval. "Very good. You have studied our customs. Please follow me. I will show you to your quarters and introduce you to your roommate." They walked through wide corridors filled with students and faculty. Alex noticed many of them staring at him. Some whispered to each other when he passed. "Is something wrong?" Alex asked. "Not at all," Selth replied. "Many here have never seen a human before. Earth only joined the Galactic Union 2 years ago. You are something of a curiosity." "I see," Alex said, not entirely comfortable with the attention. "There is also the matter of your planet's classification," Selth added. "Classification?" "Yes. The Galactic Union classifies all inhabited worlds. Earth is classified as a Class Y 12 Deathworld." Alex frowned. "A Deathworld? That sounds dramatic." Selth stopped walking and turned all 4 of his eyes toward Alex. "It is not dramatic, Human Mitchell. It is scientific fact. Your planet has extreme weather patterns, active tectonic plates causing earthquakes and volcanoes, high gravity, dangerous wildlife, and areas of intense radiation. Most species here come from worlds classified between 1 and 4. Alex hadn't thought about Earth that way before. Sure, there were dangerous places, but most people lived perfectly normal lives. Before he could respond, they arrived at a door marked with strange symbols and English letters spelling out Dormitory 5C. "Your roommate is from Proxima Centauri III, Selth explained as he waved a hand over the door sensor. He specifically requested to room with the human student. The door slid open to reveal a small but comfortable living space. A figure stood by the window, gazing out at the stars. He turned as they entered. "Human Mitchell, this is student Greg Phillips," Selth said. Greg was definitely not human. He was tall and thin with golden skin that seemed to glow slightly. His eyes were large and completely black, and he had no visible nose, just 2 small slits where a nose would be on a human face. "Hello, Earth friend," Greg said, his voice musical and light. "I am most excited to meet you." "Just Alex is fine," Alex replied with a smile. "Nice to meet you too, Greg." Greg moved forward with a strange bouncing motion. Alex realized he was moving unusually due to the artificial gravity. Proxima Centauri III has approximately 0.7 of Earth's gravity, Selth explained. Student Phillips is still adjusting. "This station gravity is like wearing heavy weights for me," Greg said cheerfully. "But I am adapting. I wish to be strong like humans." After Selth left, Greg showed Alex around their shared quarters. There were 2 separate sleeping areas, a common room, and a hygiene station that looked nothing like a bathroom on Earth. "Have so many questions about Earth," Greg said as Alex unpacked. Is it true humans can withstand temperature changes of 50 degrees in a single day? Well, we don't like it, but yeah, we can survive it with the right clothing, Alex replied. Greg's eyes widened. Amazing! And you live in places where the ground shakes and mountains explode? You mean earthquakes and volcanoes? Some people do. We build special structures to withstand them. Greg sat down, his movement still awkward in the higher gravity. On my world, if the ground moved even slightly, we would evacuate the entire region. And we have no seasons. The temperature varies only 5 degrees throughout the year. Alex was beginning to understand why Earth was called a Deathworld. Before they could talk more, a chime sounded. That is the orientation signal, Greg said, standing, with effort. All new students must attend. They made their way to a large auditorium filled with hundreds of new students. Alex was the only human in the room. As they found seats, he noticed many students keeping their distance from him. The dean of the academy, a crystalline being who communicated through light patterns translated by small devices, welcomed everyone. The orientation covered basic rules, safety protocols, and class schedules. And finally, the dean's translated voice announced, "We have our first student from Earth, a Class 12 world. This historic moment represents our ongoing mission to include all sentient species in our pursuit of knowledge." All eyes turned to Alex. The whispers grew louder. Did they say Class 12? How does anything survive there? I heard humans fight predators with their bare hands. They drink poison for fun. Alex sank lower in his seat as Greg leaned over. You are famous already, Greg whispered. Everyone is impressed a Deathworlder can be civilized enough for academic study. Thanks, I think, Alex muttered. After orientation, they received their class assignments. Alex scrolled through his schedule on his new academy tablet and noticed a class that wasn't part of his requested courses. Advanced Xenobiological Survival Studies? He read aloud. I didn't sign up for this. Greg looked over his shoulder. That is Professor Orland's class. Very prestigious. Only top students get selected. But why me? I'm not a survival expert. Greg blinked his large black eyes. You are human, from Earth. To the rest of us, that makes you the ultimate survival expert. Alex started to explain that he was just an ordinary college student who occasionally went camping but stopped. How could he make them understand that on Earth he was nothing special? As they walked back to their room, Alex realized this misunderstanding might be bigger than he thought. These aliens believed all humans were superhuman survivors. And tomorrow, in Professor Orland's class, they would expect him to demonstrate skills he didn't have. What had he gotten himself into? Alex woke up early the next morning, his mind still adjusting to the Academy's 26-hour day cycle. He watched as Greg performed a strange morning ritual, absorbing light from a special lamp while humming softly. Good awakening, Alex, Greg said when he finished. Are you prepared for your first classes? As ready as I'll ever be, Alex replied, trying to hide his nervousness. The survival studies class is first. Greg's eyes brightened. Many students would trade places with you, Professor. Orland is famous across 17 star systems for his knowledge of planetary adaptation. They ate breakfast in the main dining hall, where food synthesizers created meals adjusted to each species' biological needs. Alex stared at his plate of what looked like eggs and toast but tasted slightly different. Your species consumes animal products and plant matter together? Asked a purple-skinned student at their table. Fascinating digestive capability. Humans can eat almost anything, Greg said proudly, as if Alex's omnivorous diet was his own achievement. Not everything, Alex corrected. There are plenty of things on Earth that would poison us. Yet you share your world with over 10,000 toxic plant species and still thrive, said another student. Remarkable adaptation. Alex wanted to explain that humans simply learned what not to eat, but the signal for first class chimed, ending the conversation. The survival studies classroom looked like a combination of a lecture hall and a laboratory. One wall displayed a holographic map of the galaxy, with worlds colored according to their classification system. Alex noticed Earth glowing an ominous red, while most other inhabited planets showed calming blues and greens. Professor Orlin entered the room. He was massive, nearly 7 feet tall, with thick gray skin that looked like tree bark and 6 limbs that moved with surprising grace. His face featured 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. "Welcome, students," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "I see our new faces, including..." His 3 eyes focused on Alex. "Our first human student." "Excellent." The class consisted of 15 students from 12 different species. Most looked at Alex with curiosity or caution. A student with metallic scales whispered to her neighbor, who had tentacles instead of arms. "Today we begin with each student, sharing survival challenges from their homeworlds," Professor Orlin announced. "This provides context for our comparative studies." One by one, students described what their species considered survival challenges. A student from a water world talked about managing air chambers during storm seasons. Another from a low-gravity planet explained techniques for securing shelter against mild wind currents that might otherwise send buildings floating away. Alex listened with growing confusion. These challenges sounded more like minor inconveniences compared to what humans routinely faced on Earth. "Student Mitchell," Professor Orlin said finally, "please share Earth's primary survival challenges and standard adaptation protocols." All eyes turned to Alex. He cleared his throat. "Well, it depends on where you live on Earth. We have different climates and conditions. Select the most challenging region," Professor Orlin suggested. "I suppose places with extreme weather would be challenging. Hurricanes, blizzards, tornadoes, floods. Your weather defense systems must be extraordinarily advanced," interrupted a student with feathery skin. "We don't have weather defense systems," Alex said. "We track weather patterns with satellites and radar, then evacuate people or prepare shelters if something dangerous is coming." Silence fell over the classroom. Professor Orlin's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Clarify, please," he said. "You mean to say humans simply endure these weather events?" "Pretty much," Alex said. "We board up windows, store supplies, move to safer locations if possible, but mostly we just prepare and wait them out." The classroom erupted in shocked whispers. "I experienced a Category 3 hurricane once," Alex continued, not realizing the impact of his words. "I was visiting my grandparents at their coastal home. We stocked up on food and water, secured everything outside, and stayed in the basement until it passed." "You willingly remained in the path of a massive storm system?" asked the tentacled student, voice trembling slightly. "It wasn't that big a deal," Alex said with a shrug. "The power was out for a week after, which was annoying, but we played board games and cooked on a camp stove." Professor Orlin moved to the holographic display and pulled up Earth's atmospheric data. The display showed swirling storm systems, temperature extremes, and atmospheric electrical activity. "For context," he said to the class, "a Category 3 hurricane on Earth produces sustained winds of approximately 185 kilometers per hour and can cause structural failure in standard buildings." The classroom fell silent again. Alex shifted uncomfortably in his seat as everyone stared at him. "Student Mitchell," Professor Orlin said, "is your family part of Earth's specialized survival forces?" "No, they're just regular people. My dad works in software development and my mom teaches elementary school." Professor Orlin made a sound like rocks grinding together, which Alex later learned was his species' version of clearing his throat. "Let us continue," the professor said. "What about Earth's geological instabilities? You mean earthquakes and volcanoes?" Alex asked. "Those are dangerous in some regions. We have building codes to make structures more resistant to shaking, and early warning systems for volcanic eruptions." "Impossible," muttered the metallic-scaled student. "No species would build settlements near geological rupture zones." "About 40% of humans live within 100 kilometers of active fault lines," Alex said. "Some of our biggest cities are built right on top of them." Professor Orlin's 3 eyes widened simultaneously. "Fascinating risk assessment. And what of Earth's indigenous predator species? Most dangerous predators stay away from human settlements now," Alex explained. "Though in some regions, People still have to watch for bears, wolves, mountain lions, venomous snakes, or sharks in the water. Yet you have no defensive exoskeletons or natural toxins, observed the feathery student. How do you survive encounters with these predators? Alex tried to think of a simple answer. We use tools, travel in groups, make noise to scare them away. Most predators don't want to attack humans anyway. As the questions continued, Alex became increasingly aware of how his classmates viewed Earth. To them, his homeworld sounded like a nightmarish death trap, where humans somehow managed to survive against impossible odds. When class ended, no one sat near Alex in the following lectures. Even in the crowded lunch hall, students left an empty space around him. Only Greg remained cheerfully by his side. Why is everyone avoiding me? Alex asked as they walked back to their room that evening. Greg's black eyes blinked rapidly. They are not avoiding you. They are giving you respect space. Respect space? Yes. After your survival class, everyone is talking about you. They say, you are the toughest species they have ever encountered. Some believe humans must have hidden abilities to survive such conditions. Alex laughed. We don't have any special abilities. We're just adaptable. Exactly, Greg said enthusiastically. Your species thrives in conditions that would exterminate most others. That is why Professor Orlin has selected you for the special field training exercise next week. What field training exercise? Greg handed Alex a notification on his tablet. It detailed a 3-day survival simulation in the Academy's environment dome. This is for advanced students, Alex protested. There must be a mistake. Greg shook, his head, his whole body moving with the motion. No mistake. Professor Orlin believes you can teach us all something important about survival. Alex stared at the notification, a sinking feeling in his stomach. These aliens thought he was some kind of survival expert when he was just an ordinary human. Sooner or later, they would discover the truth. The day of the survival simulation arrived faster than Alex wanted. He stood at the entrance to the environment dome with his classmates, clutching a simple backpack. Around him, other students checked complex equipment and discussed strategy. Student, Mitchell, your gear seems inadequate, Professor Orlin said, eyeing Alex's small pack. Alex unzipped his bag to show its contents. A pocket knife, water bottle, length of paracord, lighter, small first aid kit, and a light thermal blanket. This is all I could find in the Academy Supply Center, Alex explained. In truth, he had selected items similar to what he would take on an overnight hike back on Earth. The metallic-scaled student, who Alex now knew was named Vaz, displayed her survival kit. It included an atmospheric analyzer, portable force field, generator, auto-deploying shelter, and several devices Alex couldn't identify. Standard survival equipment from my world, Vaz said proudly. Alex looked at his simple tools and felt a twinge of worry. Maybe he should have requested more advanced equipment. Professor Orlin addressed the group. This simulation will recreate conditions similar to a Class 4 planet environment. You will experience temperature variations, light precipitation, and basic terrain challenges. Your objective is to establish a safe camp and survive for 3 days. A Class 4 planet. Alex relaxed slightly. From what he had learned, a Class 4 would be like a pleasant spring day on Earth with maybe some light rain. The dome has been programmed with simulated wildlife, none dangerous, but tracking them will be part of your assessment, Professor Orlin continued. Emergency beacons are provided, but using one will result in failing the exercise. The students entered the environment dome through an airlock. Inside, Alex saw what looked like a temperate forest with rolling hills. Sunlight filtered through tall trees, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of plants. It reminded him of national parks he had visited back home. We have 6 hours of daylight remaining, said Nix, a thin, blue-skinned student with 4 arms. We should establish shelter before dark. Agreed, said Kay, a plant-based student whose skin had a greenish tint. I sense water in that direction. She pointed toward what appeared to be a valley. The group of 15 students moved together. At first, Alex walked quietly, observing. This environment seemed perfectly pleasant to him, but several students were already scanning for threats and moving cautiously. "What do you think, Mitchell?" asked Ben, an aquatic student who moved with a slight waddle. "Where should we set? Up base?" All eyes turned to Alex. Right. They expected the human to have special insight. "Well," Alex said, thinking back to his limited camping experience, "we want to be near water but not too close because of insects and possible flooding. Somewhere with good visibility, protected from wind, and on slightly higher ground would be ideal." The group nodded seriously, as if Alex had shared profound wisdom instead of basic camping tips. They found a suitable clearing near a small stream. The alien students began deploying their high-tech shelters while Alex gathered fallen branches and started clearing an area for a fire pit. "What is your purpose?" Kay asked, watching Alex arrange stones in a circle. "I'm making a fire pit," Alex explained, "for cooking and warmth at night." "But we have thermal regulators," said Vaz, holding up a small device. "And nutrient packs require no heating." Alex shrugged. "I guess I like doing things the old-fashioned way." The group watched, with fascination as Alex built a small fire using his lighter and dry twigs. Something about the dancing flames seemed to fascinate the alien students, who gathered around it despite their thermal regulators. As evening approached, a warning chime sounded throughout the dome. A voice announced, "Attention simulation participants. A programming error has been detected. Environmental conditions will exceed planned parameters. Simulation abort is recommended." Professor Orland's voice followed. "Students, we are attempting to correct the error. Prepare for increased environmental challenges. Emergency beacons are authorized without penalty." The sky darkened rapidly. Wind began to pick up, bending the tops of trees. Temperature dropped noticeably. "What's happening?" Kay asked, her leaves trembling. "System malfunction," Nick said, checking a device. "Temperature dropping at 2 degrees per minute. Wind increasing to dangerous levels." Panic spread through the group. Several students reached for their emergency beacons. "Wait," Alex said, surprised by the urgency in his voice. "This isn't so bad yet. Give the professors time to fix it." "Not bad?" Vaz's metallic scales rippled. "These conditions are approaching Class 8 severity." Alex looked around. Yes, it was getting colder and windier, but nothing close to a bad winter storm on Earth. "Let's improve our shelters first," Alex suggested. "We can create windbreaks with these fallen trees." When the others hesitated, Alex began dragging large branches to form a barrier against the wind. After a moment, Ben moved to help him. "What is your plan, human?" Ben asked, struggling with a heavy branch. "We'll make a semicircle of these branches, pile smaller ones on top, and create a reflector wall for the fire," Alex explained. "The flames will bounce heat back into our shelter space." Other students slowly joined the effort. Alex directed them to strengthen their positions, moving high-tech shelters behind the natural windbreak. The fire grew larger as Alex added more wood, creating a warm center to their camp. Rain began to fall, then turned to sleet. The temperature continued to drop. "Our equipment isn't designed for this," cried Kay, whose plant-like body was particularly sensitive to cold. Alex unwrapped his thermal blanket and helped wrap it around Kay. "Stay close to the fire," he said. "Nix, can those 4 arms weave smaller branches together? We need to create a roof." Working together under Alex's guidance, they constructed a crude but effective shelter around the fire. The high-tech equipment of the alien students proved less useful as batteries drained in the cold, and delicate mechanisms froze. Night fell completely. The fire crackled as sleet pinged against their makeshift roof. The students huddled together for warmth. "How does your species endure such conditions regularly?" asked Vaz, who had tucked her metallic body close to Alex for warmth. "We adapt," Alex said simply. "And we work together." A sudden gust of wind rocked their shelter. A large branch crashed nearby, making everyone jump. "Professor Orland reports the simulation controls are frozen," Nix announced, reading a message on his device. "They cannot shut it down remotely. Rescue teams will enter when conditions permit." "How long?" Ben asked. "Unknown. Many hours, possibly. Until morning." The group fell silent. Alex looked at their worried faces and realized something important. On Earth, he was nothing special, just an average college student who'd been camping a few times. But here, his basic outdoor skills, making fire, building shelter, staying calm, made him exceptional. "We'll be fine," Alex said with confidence. He didn't entirely feel. "The shelter will hold. The fire will keep us warm. We have water from the stream and emergency rations. This is just a camping trip with bad weather." The alien students looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope. They believed in the tough human from the Deathworld. And somehow, that made Alex believe in himself too. "Now," he said, pulling his knife from his pocket, "let me show you how to make roasting sticks. No reason we can't make those nutrient packs taste better with a little fire cooking." Morning arrived with no improvement in conditions. Alex woke to find ice crystals forming on the outer edges of their shelter. The fire had died down to glowing embers. Around him, his alien classmates slept in a tight circle, sharing warmth. Alex carefully added small sticks to the embers, gently blowing on them until flames appeared again. He fed the fire gradually until it blazed once more, filling their shelter with warmth and light. "You didn't sleep much," said a voice. Alex turned to see Nix watching him with all four eyes. "Someone had to keep watch," Alex replied. In truth, he had been too worried to sleep deeply. The storm outside had grown worse overnight, and he hadn't wanted the fire to die out completely. One by one, the other students woke up. They looked tired but relieved to have survived the night. Kay seemed especially affected by the cold, her normally bright green skin now a dull olive color. "Status report?" Ben asked, stretching his webbed hands toward the fire. Nix checked his device. "Communications with Academy staff are intermittent. The environmental systems are still malfunctioning. Temperature is currently -10 degrees Celsius with wind speeds of 40 kilometers per hour. "That's not so bad," Alex said without thinking. "Not bad?" Vaz's metallic scales rattled in what Alex now recognized as agitation. "These are Class 9 conditions. No intelligent species builds permanent settlements in such environments." Alex bit his tongue. People lived in far worse conditions in Alaska, Siberia, and the mountains of Nepal. But he was learning that his perspective as a human was very different from his classmates. "What's important is that our shelter held up," Alex said. "But we need to strengthen it, collect more firewood, and make sure we have clean water. My water purification unit has failed," Ben said, holding up a small device with a cracked screen. "Mine too," added Kay. Alex moved to the entrance of their shelter and looked outside. Snow was falling heavily now, covering the ground in white. The stream they had camped near was partially frozen. "We can melt snow for drinking," Alex explained. "And if we boil the water, it will be safe to drink." "Fascinating adaptation," muttered Nix, making notes on his device. Alex organized the group into teams. Some stayed to reinforce the shelter, while others joined him to gather more firewood. Before it became too wet from the snow, he showed them how to find dry wood under fallen logs and how to test branches for dryness by snapping them. When they returned with arms full of fuel, Alex noticed Ben was missing. "Where's Ben?" he asked. "He went to check the stream," Kay said, her leaves quivering in the cold despite the thermal blanket still wrapped around her. A cry for help cut through the howling wind. Alex dropped his firewood and ran toward the sound. He found Ben lying near the stream's edge, one leg bent at an unnatural angle. "I slipped on the ice," Ben explained through chattering teeth. "My leg? I think it's broken." Alex carefully examined the injury. The leg was definitely broken, with the bone almost protruding through Ben's blue-tinted skin. "We need to get you back to the shelter," Alex said. He called for help, and Nix and Vaz came running. Together, they carefully lifted Ben and carried him back to their camp. Inside the shelter, Alex used first aid supplies from his small kit, combined with flexible branches and strips torn from his spare shirt, to create a splint for Ben's leg. "I'm impressed by your medical knowledge," Nick said as he watched Alex work. "This is just basic first aid," Alex replied. "Most humans learn this stuff in school or youth groups. On my world, only medical specialists would know how to treat physical injuries," Nix explained. "The rest of us would rely on automated medical pods." The day wore on with no rescue. The students took turns tending the fire and caring for Ben, who had developed a fever. Alex showed them how to make pine needle tea, which contained vitamin C and might help fight infection. In the afternoon, a loud crack overhead made everyone freeze. Part of their shelter roof was sagging under the weight of accumulated snow and ice. "It's going to collapse," Kay whispered in fear. "Not if we fix it," Alex said firmly. He grabbed his knife and some paracord. "Nix, I need your help." The two of them worked outside in the bitter cold, using the knife to cut new support branches and the paracord to lash everything together. Alex's fingers grew numb, but he kept working, showing Nix how to tie secure knots. When they finally returned to the shelter, the others looked at them with amazement. "You exposed yourselves to the full environment," Vaz said, her metallic voice tinged with awe. "It needed to be done," Alex said simply, warming his hands by the fire. That evening, as they shared the last of their packed rations, the students began to talk about their homeworlds. They described peaceful planets with controlled climates, automated systems for every need, and societies where physical discomfort was rare. "I've never been this cold before," Kay admitted. "On my world, the temperature is regulated to within 2 degrees year-round. I've never made a fire," added Vaz. "Our energy comes from fusion cells and solar collectors. And I've never had to set a broken bone," Nix said, looking at Ben, who was sleeping more comfortably now. "It's primitive but effective," Alex listened quietly. To these advanced species, the survival skills he considered basic were like ancient forgotten arts. "Alex," Kay asked suddenly, "were you specially trained for survival on Earth?" Alex laughed softly. "Not really. I went camping with my family maybe once or twice a year. I was in a youth group that taught some outdoor skills. I took one wilderness first aid course because it seemed useful. That's it." The aliens exchanged glances. "You mean to say that what you've shown us, making fire, building shelter, finding water, treating injuries, these are skills that ordinary humans possess?" Nix asked. "Well, not all humans," Alex clarified, "but many of us know the basics, and we can figure out the rest when we need to. Humans are pretty adaptable." A thoughtful silence fell over the group. Alex realized something had shifted. They no longer looked at him with fear or nervous respect. Instead, there was something like admiration in their eyes. The communication device in Nix's hand suddenly crackled to life. "Attention students," came Professor Orland's voice. "Rescue teams will reach you at dawn. Emergency systems have been activated to gradually normalize conditions. Status report requested." Nix looked at Alex, then spoke into the device. "All students alive and sheltered. 1 injury. Ben has a broken leg, splinted and stable. No other casualties. We are managing well under Student Mitchell's guidance." "Excellent news," Professor Orland replied, genuine relief in his voice. "Maintain your position. Rescue is coming." As the others celebrated, Alex stepped outside for a moment. The snow was falling more gently now, and the wind had died down. Stars peeked through breaks in the clouds. Despite everything, it was beautiful. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Alex felt like he belonged. Not because he was some superhuman from a Deathworld, but because in helping others survive, he had found his own strength. Rescue arrived with the dawn light. A team of academy staff in environmental suits entered the dome, led by Professor Orland himself. They found the students huddled around their fire in a shelter that had withstood conditions far beyond what the simulation was designed to create. "Remarkable," Professor Orland said as he surveyed the camp. His 3 eyes took in the reinforced branches, the stone-ringed fire pit, and the neat organization of the limited supplies. Medical staff immediately attended to Ben, transferring him to a floating stretcher with advanced medical equipment. The rest of the students were given thermal blankets and warm drinks from the rescue team's supplies. 56 hours, Professor Orland said to Alex as they walked back toward the dome entrance. "You survived 56 hours in conditions that reached Class 10 at their peak." "It wasn't just me," Alex replied. "Everyone worked together. True, but from the emergency recordings and your classmates' accounts, it is clear who led the effort. Professor Orland's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. I must confess something, Student Mitchell. When Earth joined the Galactic Union, many of us were skeptical. How could intelligent life evolve on such a hostile planet? We assumed humans must have developed by chance in a small, unusually mild region. Alex listened as they walked through the now deactivating dome, the simulated snow already beginning to melt. But you have demonstrated otherwise, Professor Orland continued. Humans are not merely lucky survivors. You are adapted to hardship in ways we barely comprehend. Back at the Academy's medical center, the students were examined for injuries. Besides Ben's broken leg, most suffered only minor cold exposure and exhaustion. Alex had some frostbite on his fingers from working outside to repair the shelter, but the medical staff quickly treated it with regenerative gel. Word of their ordeal spread quickly through the Academy. By the time Alex returned to his dormitory, to shower and change clothes, students were stopping him in the corridors to ask questions. Is it true you made fire with just a small chemical device? Asked one. Did you really set a broken bone with tree parts? Asked another. Greg was waiting in their room, bouncing with excitement. You are famous now. Everyone is talking about the human who saved his class from certain death. That's a bit dramatic, Alex said, embarrassed by the attention. We were never in certain death territory. The emergency system recorded -20 degrees with wind chill factor, Greg said. That is lethal to most species. After a hot shower and clean clothes, Alex was summoned to the Academy Administration office. He found Dean Vera waiting for him. The crystalline being's communication lights pulsed in patterns that the translator rendered as a friendly greeting. Student, Mitchell, please sit, the dean said. The Academy Board has been discussing the events of the past 2 days. Alex sat nervously. Was he in trouble for taking charge during the simulation? First, let me assure you that the malfunction was not your fault, the dean continued. In fact, the Academy takes full responsibility for placing students in danger. We were never in real danger, Alex said automatically. The conditions were manageable. The dean's lights pulsed in what might have been laughter. That is precisely the point, young human. What you consider manageable would be catastrophic for most species. The dean activated a holographic display showing the interior of the environment dome during the simulation. Alex watched as recorded images showed him building the fire, constructing the shelter, creating a splint for Ben, and organizing the group's efforts. Professor Orland has proposed something unprecedented, the dean said. He wishes to create a new course on Deathworld adaptation techniques, with you serving as a teaching assistant. Me? Alex was shocked. But I'm just a first-year student. A first-year student who possesses practical knowledge that even our most advanced survival specialists lack, the dean replied. We are not asking you to teach theory but to demonstrate the methods you used in the dome, making fire, building shelters, finding water, treating injuries with limited supplies. Alex thought about it. The idea of teaching seemed strange. He had come to the Academy to learn, not to instruct others. But he had to admit that his basic Earth survival skills had proven valuable. I'll do it, he said finally. But I want to make it clear that I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing what most humans would know. That is precisely what makes it valuable, the dean replied. In the weeks that followed, Alex's life at the Academy changed dramatically. 3 times a week, he assisted Professor Orland in the new practical adaptation class. Students from all departments signed up, eager to learn survival techniques from the human from Earth. Alex taught them how to start fires using different methods, how to build shelters from natural materials, how to find and purify water, and basic first aid for various injuries. The students were fascinated by these primitive techniques that didn't rely on technology. But what if the fire won't start? Asked a frustrated Vaz during one lesson, after failing to create a spark with a flint and steel. Then you try something else, Alex explained patiently. Humans don't give up when the first method fails. We adapt and find another way. This concept, adapting rather than relying on a single perfect solution, was revolutionary to species who had evolved in more stable environments. They had developed incredible technologies but had lost the ability to function without them. One evening, Alex received a call from Earth. Sam Carter, the human representative to the Galactic Union, appeared on his screen. "Alex, I've been hearing remarkable things about you," Sam said with a smile. "You've become something of a celebrity in diplomatic circles." "I was just trying to help my classmates," Alex replied, still uncomfortable with his fame. "You did more than that," Sam said. "You changed how the galaxy sees humans. Before, they viewed Earth as a dangerous anomaly and humans as either extremely lucky or secretly advanced. Now they understand our true strength, our adaptability." Reports of Alex's actions had spread beyond the Academy. Other educational institutions across the galaxy were requesting human exchange students. Several species had begun incorporating Earth-style survival training into their space exploration programs. In his dormitory, Alex looked at the small collection of items he had brought from Earth: photos of his family, a few books, a baseball cap from his hometown team. Such ordinary things from a planet that the galaxy considered extraordinary. Greg entered carrying 2 drinks. "I brought you a celebration beverage. The chemical composition was approved for human consumption." "What are we celebrating?" Alex asked, taking the cup cautiously. "Did you not hear? Your survival class is now the most requested elective at the Academy, and 3 other academies have asked if you would visit to demonstrate your techniques." Alex smiled and shook his head. "All this fuss because I can start a fire and build a shelter?" "No," Greg said, suddenly serious. "All this fuss because you showed us that when technology fails, there are still ways to survive. You gave many species hope." Alex hadn't thought of it that way. He had simply done what any human would do in that situation: adapt and overcome. But now he understood that this very human trait was something special in the galaxy. As he looked out the window at the stars, Alex thought about all the human explorers throughout history who had faced the unknown with nothing but their wits and simple tools. He was just the latest in that long tradition, teaching the galaxy that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most reliable. The ordinary human from Earth had become extraordinary among the stars, not because of advanced technology or special powers, but because of humanity's oldest and greatest strength: the ability to adapt and survive.